For his ninth labor, Hercules, aware of the formidable reputation of his next destination, gathered a select group of brave and loyal heroes willing to accompany him on a dangerous journey to Themyscira, the legendary realm of the Amazons. This mission would test not only his strength, but also his diplomacy and insight. The origin of this unusual labor lay in the vanity of King Eurystheus' daughter, the spoiled and demanding Admete, enchanted by the stories circulating about the bravery and treasures of the Amazons. She demanded that her father give her Hippolyta's belt as a personal gift. For Admete, owning such a coveted item would be the ultimate proof of her status. Hippolyta was no ordinary queen. She was the undisputed ruler of the Amazons, a people of fearless and independent warrior women. Her reputation on the battlefield was legendary, and she was revered for her unmatched skill and courage. In recognition of her deeds and mastery in combat, Hippolyta had been given an honorary gift by none other than Ares, the god of war, a magnificent belt made of gold and precious gems. More than just a decoration, it was a symbol of her leadership, her power, and the divine favor over her warrior people. To fulfill his daughter's whim, and as yet another attempt to impose an insurmountable challenge, King Eurystheus sent Hercules to bring back the belt using whatever means necessary. This vague instruction gave Hercules both the freedom and the burden to choose between diplomacy or war. Themyscira was a unique kingdom, a bastion of female power. It was inhabited and ruled exclusively by women, who had built a society where strength, military skill, and independence were the foundation of their existence. They were famous for being exceptional fighters, trained from an early age in the arts of war, master horsewomen and archers, and their martial discipline earned them both the respect and fear of all neighboring nations. The idea of invading such a kingdom to steal a divine gift seemed like a suicide mission. As he neared the borders of the Amazon realm, Hercules, known not only for his brute strength, but also for his notable wisdom, chose diplomacy. Instead of launching a hostile assault, he and his companions sent messengers to the queen, requesting an audience. To the surprise of even some of his own warriors, who expected an immediate confrontation, Hercules was received by Queen Hippolyta herself. She, in turn, was genuinely impressed by the hero's powerful presence and commanding aura. His reputation had preceded him. Hercules, fully aware of the importance of avoiding unnecessary bloodshed, spoke diplomatically with the queen, expressing his request with respect and clarity. Hippolyta, for her part, responded with courtesy, moved by the hero's nobility and honesty. The negotiations were progressing surprisingly peacefully. They seemed to be reaching an amicable agreement, and Hippolyta, perhaps inspired by admiration for Hercules or by a desire to prevent a war that would cost her warriors' lives, was prepared to hand over the belt without the need for conflict. However, Hera, the relentless arch-enemy of Hercules, would not allow him to complete this task so easily, and certainly not through peace. Watching from her throne on Olympus, the unexpected harmony between the hero and the queen, divine fury burned within her. Taking the form of an Amazon, Hera descended from Olympus and, with malicious cunning, infiltrated Hippolyta's ranks. There, she began to insidiously spread a dangerous rumor. She claimed Hercules had not come in peace, but with a treacherous plan to kidnap the queen, enslave all the Amazons, and plunder their kingdom. Her lies, convincing and strategic, quickly ignited the proud and protective spirit of the warriors. The rumor spread like wildfire among the Amazons. Outraged by the alleged betrayal and fearful for their beloved queen, they did not hesitate. To protect Hippolyta and their homeland, the Amazons, furious and resolute, armed themselves en masse and attacked Hercules and his companions with overwhelming fury. The battle that followed was brutal and relentless. Arrows rained down, spears clashed against shields, and war cries echoed across the plains. Hercules and his warriors fought bravely against waves of enraged warriors, but the intensity of the assault was staggering. Many Amazons fell in battle, sacrificing their lives in loyalty to their queen and their nation, victims of divine deception. Amid the chaos and savagery of battles, among the Amazons who fell was Queen Hippolyta herself. Whether she died by Hercules' hands in self-defense, by the hand of one of his companions in the heat of combat, or, as some versions suggest, by Hera's own hand to ensure Hercules would bear the blame, remains a mystery. What is certain is that, after the battle, Hercules took her belt and began the journey back to Mycenae with his men, exhausted but victorious, though haunted by the bitter taste of a victory stained by unnecessary bloodshed. On their journey home, while sailing across the Aegean Sea, Hercules and his companions passed by Troy, the mighty walled city. As they approached the coast, they noticed the city in terrible distress, surrounded by an atmosphere of despair and calamity. King Laomedon of Troy was being punished for his impiety. Years earlier, he had refused to pay the promised tribute to the gods Poseidon and Apollo, who had built for him the legendary, impregnable walls of Troy. In retaliation for this betrayal, Poseidon had sent a dreadful sea monster to ravage the Trojan coast, devouring people and animals and devastating the land. The only way to appease Poseidon's wrath was through a human sacrifice, and so the king's beautiful daughter, Princess Hesione, had been chosen to be offered to the beast at an altar by the sea. Upon witnessing the city's anguish and the injustice of the situation, Hercules, whose heart could not abide tyranny or injustice, offered his help. King Laomedon, desperate and out of options, promised a generous reward to the hero if he would save his daughter from the sea monster's jaws. Thus, without hesitation, Hercules set out to face the creature. Armed with his club and his legendary strength, he engaged the monster in battle. Colossal and terrifying as it was, the beast was no match for the mighty son of Zeus. Hercules leapt upon the creature, and, in a spectacular fight, struck it with his club. And so the sea monster was mercilessly slain, freeing Troy from its dreadful torment. Victorious and unscathed, Hercules returned Princess Hesione safely to Laomedon, who was overjoyed to have his daughter back and his city free from the sea beast's threat. The people of Troy hailed Hercules as their savior. However, King Laomedon's happiness was short-lived, and his treacherous nature soon returned. In an act of dishonor and ingratitude, Laomedon lived up to his reputation as a cheat and refused to pay the promised reward to the hero. He despicably argued that Hercules' help hadn't been worth so much after all. Furious at this insult to his honor and generosity, Hercules was forced to stand down. From atop Troy's towering walls, hundreds of Trojan archers, loyal to their dishonorable king, aimed at Hercules and his men, awaiting Laomedon's command to fire. Hercules was not prepared to face an entire city's army alone. Faced with such overwhelming danger, Hercules and his companions were forced to retreat, driven away from the Trojan coast, humiliated by betrayal and threat. With Queen Hippolyta's belt in his possession, Hercules returned to Mycenae to deliver it to his king's daughter, thus completing his 9th labor. However, the betrayal he suffered at the hands of the Trojans, the broken promise, and Laomedon's ingratitude left a stain on his honor that the hero would never forget. That memory of treachery would plant the seeds for a future and devastating revenge against the city of Troy.